Why Putin wants Crimea. Why exactly does Putin want Crimea? It's been 8 years since Putin illegally annexed the peninsula, with Ukraine repeatedly calling on the international community to put more pressure and sanctions on Moscow as the annexation and occupation of Crimea continues. Putin's troops took control of Crimea back in 2014, and just a month later, Russia held a referendum to formally annex the peninsula. A referendum which was widely and unanimously condemned by the international community as being illegal and having no basis. This illegal annexation marked the first time since the Second World War that one European nation seized territory from another, further isolating Russia from the rest of Europe. But that didn't matter to Putin, as all that mattered was the successful addition of another federal subject to Russia. But why exactly did Putin annex Crimea, and what exactly does he hope to achieve from it? Well, as always, we have shut out all speculations and actually poured in hundreds of hours into digging up files and classified reports to bring you hardcore proof and detailed evidence of the real reasons why Putin wants Crimea. You definitely do not want to miss this one, so keep up! But before we get into today's intriguing video, do make sure to like this video, hit the subscribe button, and smash that notification bell to receive notifications of when we post more mind-blowing videos about one of the most influential and most feared men in the world right now. Do leave us a comment as well, as we'd love to read your opinions on why Putin actually wants Crimea. Now, let's dive in. Why does a tiny peninsula like Crimea matter so much to Russia, and what does Putin hope to gain from it? Russia's takeover of Crimea dramatically escalated the ever-present East-West struggle over Ukraine, converting the economic and diplomatic dispute into a major geopolitical crisis. And despite increasing Western condemnation and impending sanctions, Russia thus far shows no signs of yielding its control over Crimea. In fact, by agreeing to allow a referendum to be held on whether Crimea is to rejoin Russia, and then announcing Crimea's annexation, coupled with the ongoing invasion of Ukraine, Putin has allowed the crisis to escalate even further, thereby raising several questions worthy of exploration about what exactly Crimea's strategic value for Putin is. If Putin is to be believed, his campaign in Crimea and potentially other parts of Ukraine, as he himself announced after his troops began operations in Crimea, was to protect ethnic Russians from far-right elements in the new government in Kyiv. While this might sound laudable to a novice of Putin's political history, all that was required to uncover this facade was simply to look at how he treats Russian people at home. It had become very clear that ordinary Russians are not Putin's top priority. But this is Putin's way, and this is just another page ripped from his playbook. With the ongoing invasion of Ukraine, he also had his ruse for commanding the invasion, even when his real plans with the invasion are starkly different and pretty much known. Well, as regards his stronghold on Crimea, one fact is, despite Russia's vast size and coastline, the country has very few warm water ports. Whereas in Crimea, the port of Sevastopol offers Russia a key naval base, one that Russia has always relied on since the 18th century. Sevastopol's warm water port, natural harbour, and extensive infrastructure rank it among the best naval bases in the Black Sea, a naval base that has always been home to Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and from where Putin projects his naval power into the Black Sea, Mediterranean, and beyond. The Black Sea Fleet has been based on the peninsula since it was founded by Prince Potemkin in 1783. During Russia's brief war with Georgia in 2008, the naval base proved instrumental as warships from Sevastopol were used to blockade Georgia, and it was also used shortly after the defeat of Georgia in steadily supplying arms to the Assad regime in Syria. Although Russia's current lease of Sevastopol runs through 2042, Putin became increasingly concerned that Russia's future access might be compromised following NATO's continuous expansion eastwards. He envisaged that a wholly and timely control of Crimea would provide Russia with important strategic defense capabilities needed to address naval threats from other states in the region, as well as give him unrivaled control of the Black Sea. Putin's warships are well equipped with advanced supersonic anti-ship cruise missiles, air defense systems, and torpedoes, making Russia a superpower in the region. Also, a long-term and secured control of Crimea would allow Putin to upgrade Russia's naval fleet at the Black Sea, as well as upgrade Crimea's air defense capabilities, a move that would help improve Russia's defenses on the southern flank. These were two objectives that Putin immediately set about. No sooner had he declared the annexation of the peninsula. The naval base also provides Russia with an unsinkable aircraft carrier, allowing Putin to project air power further south and deeper into Europe. A year after annexing Crimea, several bombers were transferred to air bases on the peninsula. Putin also has his eyes set on Crimea's large hydrocarbon resources. Large natural gas deposits in the Black Sea lie within Russia's claimed exclusive economic zone, with this allowing Russia to successfully bypass Ukraine entirely when supplying gas to Europe. Putin considered this segregation of Ukraine extremely crucial in further clamping down on the country, given its increasing involvement with the West. For many Russian nationalists who share Putin's ideologies, Crimea was wrongly given to Ukraine by the then Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev, and its recovery was crucial to increasing Russia's influence on former Soviet states, especially Ukraine. While the international community still considers Russia's annexation of Crimea a brazen violation of international laws, Putin considers it a crucial phase of his grand plan to return Russia to its Soviet glory days. Energy firms such as ExxonMobil, Chevron, Shell, Repsol and PetroChina have begun to show real interest in working with Kyiv to explore some earmarked areas in Crimea. They had already found interesting deposits in Crimea's Black Sea zone, with TransEuro Energy even finding commercially viable gas reserves under the Crimean mainland. These large and untapped energy reserves also prompted Putin's move on Crimea, as even if he never extracts a drop of gas from these new territories, the land grab will ensure that Gazprom, his energy champion, will be in charge of how, when and by whom this might be done. It will mean that no matter who rules Ukraine, it can never challenge Putin's monopoly on energy exports from the region. According to some Kremlin insiders, the Crimea operation has been 6 years in the planning and was in no way an impromptu decision made by Putin following the ousting of his stooge Viktor Yanukovych, the former Ukrainian president, as was widely publicized by some Western media houses. Following the removal of former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych via protests and riots in the Maidan Revolution of 2014, Putin's influence over Ukraine's future direction diminished rapidly. By taking control of Crimea, Putin sought to make integration with Ukraine much less attractive for the West and hoped that the annexation would serve as a symbol to encourage pro-Russian factions in Ukraine to support Russia and resist efforts by Kyiv to achieve closer integration with the West. This is a card in Putin's playbook, which he similarly deployed in Georgia to counter past efforts by NATO and EU expansion. For Putin, the ever-present territorial dispute over Crimea with Ukraine and the ongoing 3-month-old invasion of the country would help keep NATO away from attempting to absorb Ukraine into its fold for many years to come, a time period during which he can continue to strategize on how to achieve a permanent subjugation of the former Soviet Republic. By seizing Crimea, Putin is now able to threaten Ukraine on 3 fronts: from the northeast, the southeast, and the south, thereby rendering the eastern half of Ukraine much less defensible. Should Ukrainian forces move too far to the east in an attempt to defend Ukraine's sovereign territory, a military offensive from Crimea would be used by Putin to cut off such troops from the rear. Also, with the ongoing war on Ukraine, Putin has been using the naval base as has always been his plan for conducting a naval blockade against Ukraine's southern ports, with the base also having potential for being useful in launching operations at selected coastal targets in Ukraine. Even if Putin's war strategies on Ukraine at the moment fail, Crimea would still serve the strategic function of being Putin's base of operations for future military action against Ukraine. Putin's annexation of Crimea remained the most consequential decision of his many years in power until his ongoing invasion of Ukraine. The question of why Putin took this step is of great historical relevance, and understanding his motives for this action is crucial to assessing if he is likely to make a similar choice in the future. In the immediate aftermath of the annexation, there seem to be only 2 evident and plausible reasons for Putin's action, with both reasons still being popular till today. Putin unavoidably seized the peninsula to avert two dangerous possibilities. The first being that he feared that Ukraine's new government at the time would push on with efforts to join NATO. And second, that Kyiv might seek to evict Russia's black-standing fleet from its long-standing base of Sevastopol. Putin is a known imperialist, and he never accepted the loss of Russia's prestige following the end of the Cold War. Aside from these two obvious reasons that quickly became popular from the onset, Putin's annexation of Crimea remains a crucial part of his grand project to gradually recover the former territories of the former Soviet Union and expand Russia's border. Crimea proved the best place to start off, given its strategic location and Russia's already heavy military presence. Disclaimer: this is purely an informational video, and we are in no way promoting or approving Putin's recent action in any way.